What's up, guys? Welcome to Stories and Sound. I'm Francis, here with Subtract.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good.
Yeah. Mean. So let's just start out with, who are you guys? What is Subtract?
Subtract is what you'd call one of the longest serving bands in the New Zealand metal scene.
Yeah.
We've been going since about 97, 98. So yeah, we're on to, we've just in the last couple of years put out our 6th album, or EP or album.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've witnessed the rise and fall of the wave of metal popularity for, what is it, 15, 16 years now?
Jeez.
So yeah, it's been going a while.
Approaching the 3rd decade.
Yeah.
That's a long time as a band.
Yeah.
That's great. How old were you guys when you sort of started?
We were all sort of early 20s, so 22, 23.
Yeah.
It all come from other bands and musical backgrounds and stuff. And yeah, it was at a time in the late 90s when the metal scene was at its lowest ebb.
Yeah.
And we kind of felt like we weren't, but we felt like we were the only, metal band in New Zealand at the time. There was a bit of a scene, but it was pretty non-existent. It kind of picked up, from sort of 2000 onwards for a little bit. But yeah, it was dire days for metal in the early days, I tell you.
Yeah. What made you want to actually get into a band, knowing that the scene was kind of like that?
The scene really had nothing to do with my personal decision to get in a band. I always wanted to be in a band. It didn't really,
Yeah.
When you start out, when you're young, you have no concept of the scene, if there is such a thing anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, like everyone, I guess when you start, you just have these, dreams of rock stardom and all the rest of it. But we'd all been playing in our bedrooms, high school bands and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, the way Subtract started was kind of fortuitous anyway, because we all had contacts in the music industry. We'd worked in retail or for labels or whatever, and so we were kind of lucky in the sense that we rehearsed up an album, recorded the first EP, and had an avenue to get it out straight away, and a label that was interested in putting it out. And at the time, we've spoken to a lot of people since that that was the first time they'd ever heard of a metal band from New Zealand, and kind of like, oh wow, we can do it.
Yeah.
The idea of a metal band from New Zealand wasn't so ridiculous,
Yeah.
Talked to a lot of guys in bands, younger guys that we've played with since, that have sort of said, I was in my bedroom in Ekatahuna or whatever, watching RTR Countdown on a Saturday morning, and the Subtract video came on, and they went, oh my god, this band's from New Zealand, And so, at the time, it was incredibly difficult to get your stuff out there if you weren't just touring the whole time.
Yeah.
So, we were kind of lucky in the sense that we got an album out, got it into the record stores, got a video made, did a tour, all that kind of stuff. It all kind of, and we were also lucky in the sense that in the first year that Subtract existed, we did about, of the say 20 or 30 shows that we did, half of them would have been international supports.
Jeez.
Just because there was no, we were the go-to metal band. This band's playing, I'll get Subtract to support. So we were kind of lucky. It really elevated our exposure pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Played with Slayer and Fear Factory and Helmet and Ozzy Osbourne in the first year of our existence, in 98, 99.
That'd be pretty insane.
It was. Like a baptism of fire,
right
man.
into it, man.
Totally. And that was the other thing is, people from those gigs were, it helped our exposure in the early days, because people were going to see big international bands and then, see this local band they never heard of before and going, oh my god, they're cool.
They're Kiwis as well, yeah. No, sick. What are some of the sort of like milestones you'd say of Subtract over those years? Like some of the things that you just think back and you're like, whoa.
Well, definitely that first year.
Yeah.
There's a couple of gigs in that Slayer at the Power Station in Auckland on the Diabolus and Musica tour. That was definitely a highlight in the early stages.
Yeah.
Playing with Helmet, who at the time were pretty important band for us, and Ozzy Osbourne at the Logan Campbell Centre playing was in front of 3,000 people on your 4th gig or whatever. That was pretty insane. And around the same time, we did a big day out in '99, I think it was, and did a national tour in '98, which off the first EP that we did, which was kind of one of those things you dream about doing.
Yeah.
That's kind of, I mean, for me, that's why I got into a band, because I wanted to just live in a bus and be on the road and play in a different town every night. And not that easy to do in New Zealand, because you run out of towns after a while. But
yeah, doesn't take too long.
But it was you know, we did like 16, 18 shows around New Zealand in a month and a half or something. So that, you know, we still talk about, you know, memories from that time.
Yeah.
Remember that time on tour when you did that thing, you know? You know, like, everyone's got road stories where the wheel flies off the trailer at 120k going down a highway somewhere, and, you know, some shitty hire trailer that you got.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in the early days, and then, you know, a couple of big day outs, and we did a couple of Australian tours in sort of the mid to late 2000s, like 2008. We went over there on our own, did about 3 or 4 shows, and then about a year later went back with Exodus when they came down, did the Australasia thing with them. So we did the Auckland show, and then we did Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane with them as well. So for like 4 shows in 5 days kind of thing. And then did a couple of shows in Brisbane after we'd finished with them. So I think, you know, that was, if you ask any of the guys, that was probably a highlight.
Yeah.
If you look at the whole picture, doing a you know, a bit of an Australasian tour with Exodus, who for us were majorly influential, because we're of the first generation of thrash fans. We were there in the 80s when you know, when thrash kicked in. I was like 13, 14 when Master Puppets came out, and Fabulous Disaster by Exodus, and, you know, Rain and Blood and South of Heaven, and all those, you know, classic thrash albums came
right
out.
At the beginning,
That was kind of what we were influenced by. So getting to tour with Exodus and hang out with them and shoot the shit in the bar after the show, and
these people that you've been listening
hang
to
out in the hotel room getting wasted and stuff. It was, you know, oh my God, you have to keep going. You know, that's Gary Holt, man. It's Gary Holt.
So you guys are a heavy metal band?
Yes, indeed.
Just through and through.
Yeah. We've been, like I say, we've been through the waves of all of the different genres that have been through.
Yeah.
And really, when we try and explain what we are, we're just a metal band.
Yeah.
You know, we've been influenced by everything.
Yeah.
And we certainly don't make an effort to try and fit into any one category. We just, the music that comes out is what comes out, and it's, you know, it's just a general kind of thrash metal. You get all these kind of post this and black and death that, and, you know,
just metal.
It's just the music we make, you know.
Because what is it about it that drew you to it, like, initially?
You take this one.
Yeah.
What, metal in general?
Yeah.
Just brutal music. And
Yeah.
it's always been, especially for me, I don't know about you, Bryce, but, you know, even when I was kind of 6 or 7, getting into people like Maiden, you know, at a very young age, and then progressing through and finding new music.
Yeah.
But it's always had to annoy people in some some respects.
Yeah.
You know.
And, you know, I think for most people that are into metal, it's a sort of an unspoken thing. You get a feeling, you know. I mean, the thing about metal is, you know, there's so many variants, and there's good and bad, and you know, there's nothing as good as a great metal band. There's nothing as bad as a shitty one. So it's not like you're going to like everything, but you know, it's the stuff that kind of raises the hair on the back of your neck and makes you go, fuck yeah,
Just
you know.
makes you want to, like,
Just being at a gig and being enveloped by that sound, you know, and just go, oh my God, it's so heavy.
The onslaught of it.
And for every individual person, it's different. What, you know, people get off on the, you know, the folky melodic metal stuff, and that makes them get that feeling. Other people like the extremity, the dissonance, the, you know, the anger of it, you know, the heavier death and black metal stuff. I mean, it's a whole musical spectrum all of its own, you know.
Oh yeah.
We're kind of preaching to the converted here, telling people that are into metal, but, you know, it's different things for different people, and, you know, the kind of music we make is just what collectively makes us feel like that, you know.
Yeah.
It either works or it doesn't.
Yeah.
No one's got an ego about it when it comes to putting it on the table with new music. It's like, that kicks ass, that, maybe save that one for the solo album, you know.
You soon know as soon as you start playing it anyway. You can.
It works or it doesn't.
Yeah.
Get that feeling.
Yeah.
So on there, what's the writing process like for Subtract?
Well, it's kind of changed over the years as technology changes.
Yeah.
You know, in the early days, it was 4 tracks in the band room, jamming stuff out. throwing together a few loose ideas and just playing them a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
Since Martin's come on board, it's changed slightly again in that he can do a lot of stuff at home and sort of pre-record everything with drums and bass and everything and just throw it on the table as a full
song,
idea.
yeah.
And so we kind of take things rather than kind of just moulding them in the band room now like we used to. It's kind of more of a...
It's kind of broad. It's like broad brushstrokes, you know. It's like throwing it down, getting an idea, just putting a rough arrangement, and then just with technology now, we can farm it out to everybody. Mm-hmm. Everybody can have a listen in their own time, then work through their ideas. You know, especially with drums and everything else. Mark can take his electric kit at home and he can thrash out any rhythms that he wants to come up with and try stuff out.
And it's amazing how quickly that kind of stuff comes together too, you know. You start with a really loose idea with a real basic feel on it, drum feel on it. And I've noticed this, like with the stuff we're writing at the moment, you know, you get it's a real sort of basic template, and then we'll give it to Mark and he'll throw his version of the drums on, and instantly it's taken a different shape, new shape, you know.
Yeah. It's been quite surprising on a lot of the new stuff as well, where it's had one feel, kind of presented as one feel, and as soon as Mark's got his hands on it, all of a sudden it's heading in a different direction, but in a good way. You know? It's
we're kind of lucky in that sense. We've got a drummer that's quite unique.
Yeah,
he won't mind us, you know, talking him up here. But you talk to a lot of drummers, you know, that are into the scene or into metal or whatever. They all think Mark's pretty much the man.
Yeah.
And you know, we're pretty lucky in that sense that he's not your sort of stock traditional double kicks, thrash beat kind of drummer. He's constantly trying to think of a different way to play it. And
if anything, he veers away from
what you're not expecting to, where you're not expecting to go next. That's kind of where he wants to take it.
Because your stuff's got the real groove to it. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, he's such an old school drummer, influence wise. You know, if you were to ask him, the first name that comes out of his mouth is John Bonham.
Yeah.
And you know, Ian Pace from Deep Purple, and you know, so guys that were all about feel and groove, and that's where he started. When I first met him when we were 18, you know, he was listening to Slayer and Sepultura and Metallica, but when he got on his drums, he was channeling Bonham and Pace and, you know, Nico McBrain and, you know, guys that just have swing and groove. And I think, you know, especially with more modern metal and the rise of technology and sample beats and you know, triggers and all that kind of stuff, it tends to take a lot of soul out of it. And that, for me, that's kind of one of the first things that I'll listen for is kind of real sounding drums, you know, a real feel, like a real swing or groove or thrash or whatever.
Yeah.
Just something that doesn't sound like it's been cut and paste, you know? Yeah. Because it's so easy to do. And at first it was kind of interesting and new, but it got pretty tired pretty quickly, you know? Yeah.
It's easy, but is it the right thing to do at the end of the day? Because, you know, putting a drum kit in a room with a load of mics. You know,
there's 1,000 drummers that can double kick all day.
Yeah.
But where's your feel? Where's your personality? You know, what are you saying?
Don't just repeat what other people have done. You know,
But again, still staying true to the kind of feel that Subtract have been kind of presenting for the last 15, 16 years. You know? There is a throughput when you listen to the whole, all of the albums. There is a
consistency,
a certain there's a certain feel that has been kind of generated the whole time.
It's good because we're old fellas.
You are.
Yeah, we got a new baby in the band now. Make us all feel just a little bit older.
Because you're saying it took how long did it take to actually, when you started writing the songs effectively, to getting the album out?
Long time.
Yeah,
it was so it was at least 3 years. Because it was another transition period prior to that where Evan Short had come on board as a new guitar player. Just at the time as we were kind of recording and touring Winning Hearts and Minds, the album before Talk Minus Action. So they were songs in place when he joined the band. So we spent 6 months kind of gigging them and getting up to the recording stage. Another year recording the stuff. we had the advantage of having Evan in the band, that he was an engineer himself and had a whole bunch of gear and had a studio in his house and that kind of thing.
Makes it a bit easier.
Aside from the drums, we could do everything in house, and so it was a transitional period. Then we recorded that album. Then that was kind of when we did our sort of probably our busiest period of gigging, 18 months to 2 years, where we did big day outs and 2 Australian tours, and all on the back of that Winning Hearts.
Yeah, when did that album come out?
That was 2009.
Yeah.
And during that time, with Evan coming in after having not been in a band since day one, his old hardcore band, which was probably a good 6 or 8 years previous, he'd been doing Concord Dawn in between, the drum and bass thing. So he'd been completely devoid of metal in a playing sense.
Yeah.
He was touring around the States doing Concord Dawn stuff and going back to his hotel room and sitting in his room jamming Dimebag riffs, when he was between drum and bass sets. So he had all these ideas. So when he joined the band, it was like, right, I've got this 3 albums worth of songs here. Yeah. And so it was a whole process of, working through those and creating things out of them, and, just putting them on the table and subtractifying them. And then that became a set where we were weaving new songs in while playing stuff off Winning Hearts and Minds. And it was kind of, we got to the end of this touring process about 18 months to 2 years, and then we went, okay, we'll start thinking about the next album and get these new songs down.
Yeah.
And it started off with a hiss and a roar. We got the drums done in at Roundhead Studios and hired the room out for 3 days and got all that stuff done. But then, as usually happens when it's not your career, when it's something that you're doing for the love of it, kind of everyone's lives take over a little bit, and
takes a bit of a backstep.
Takes a little bit longer for all those things to happen. But ideally it would have happened quicker. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
It came out. The album sounds great. That's all that really matters to us.
Yeah. Doesn't really matter how long it takes. It's out there now.
Nah, we don't have kind of any kind of PR plan. It's not like a whole take over the world thing. It's like it's
3 months later we'll release the second.
We don't have any of that. We don't have that approach. It's not a commercial kind of entity in any sense. It's just we want people to hear this music, so it has to be the best it can be before we put it out there, and it took us a little longer to do that than we thought.
What was the response like when it did get out?
It was really good initially. It was kind of unfortunate in timing, in that Evan was always going to be leaving the band again. It was always a short-term thing for him.
It wasn't a random sort of...
It started out as a short-term thing. He actually ended up being in the band for about 7 years. But
some wouldn't call that short-term.
yeah. But he moved to Wellington, and all the stuff was happening with his personal life. He was getting married and having kids, and new job and all this kind of stuff. So we quickly banged out about 3 gigs when the album first came out at the end of 2013, and then that was him gone after those first set of gigs. And so almost as soon as the album had come out, we couldn't gig on it anymore. So it was a lot of internet spamming and making videos and keeping the profile up as much as we could without actually being able to go out and play the stuff, And then we spent the next year looking for a replacement guitar player.
Yeah.
And we'd almost given up hope until Martin came on board. And so then we,
Martin shining armor.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we were almost at the point where we're like, okay, we're just going to write the next album with the 3 of us and just take it as it comes. We'll find someone when we find someone, So it was, it was a good 9 months to a year before we really kind of went, okay, well, we're a band again now. And by that stage,
mad, isn't it? Because you've kind of built to a point and then gone, oh shit.
Because for us, Talk Minus Action is easily the best album we've ever done. It's the best. It's the proudest we've been of an album that we've put out. It's If you as a band, if you're aiming to constantly get better every time, then this is definitely how we felt about the last album. Production wise, songwriting wise, we sort of pushed a few more boundaries from the previous album. If you look at a subtract sound or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was a little disappointing to not be able to really push it as hard as we wanted. We wanted to get back to Australia real quick, and that couldn't happen because we spent most of the next year looking for a guitar player. So by the time we actually got Martin on board and up and running again, it was almost an old album. It was over a year old, So we're still kind of playing those songs. We still feel like we're kind of pushing the album in a way, even though it's been out for nearly 2.5 years now. But we now are at the point where we've Martin's come on board. There's a whole bunch of new ideas coming in. Same deal with Martin, where he's a guy that's been writing stuff in his bedroom without a band to unleash them with for so long that once he got on board, it was like, okay, well there's this and there's that, and I've got this one and that one, and so it's kind of a it's a kickstart to the process,
Yeah.
But then we kind of put ourselves in writing mode, and then another bunch of gigs will come up. So we're like, okay, well, we'll just go back to playing the set for a bit, which is back to Talk Minus Action songs.
Pause.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it's been like. Yeah.
So, but we're slowly but surely getting to that stage. We've got this bunch of gigs coming up with Heavy Metal Ninjas, which is going to be really cool. So we're back to playing the set again for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then once these are out of the way, we're really going to
knuckle
down and get the template of the next album sussed out, and hopefully start recording by the end of the year.
There's a good lot of riffs to get through, isn't
Yeah.
How many songs are you sort of working on at the moment?
I think the pile at the moment there's about 15 in there in the mix.
Oh yeah.
But it's just
in various forms.
In various forms, yeah. Some are just literally just ideas. Some are almost fully fledged tracks without vocals, But it's that building it all up, going back, revisiting it, farming it out to everybody. Everybody's trying to get their ideas into it, and then getting it back in that practice room and smashing it out.
And if it's anything like previous, batches of songs that we've worked on, those 15 songs could easily become 20 songs, because you'll play a song with 3 or 4 passages in it.
Yeah, and then take one
and
out
go,
and start
that
another
passage
song.
is really strong on its own. Go out, pull that out, make another song out of it.
Yeah.
And that's all the stuff that happens in the band room when you just throw it on the table and start beating it around the room.
Yeah.
That's the fun part. You start, you can kind of you play something through for a few days, and then kind of go, that bit there's not working, and then another idea will come in and boom, it
just slots
it works. Everyone goes, you can see everyone's eyes light up when it happens.
Yeah. Sweet. Are we going to hear any of the new stuff in these shows coming up?
Not yet.
Okay.
No. They're still very much works in progress.
Yeah. All right.
In the ideal world, that would have been the idea.
Yeah.
But
get some sort of road testing on them.
But timing being what it is, they just haven't had the chance. We haven't had the chance to really, nut them out fully yet.
I think it's that kind of get back into writing gigs. Get back into writing gigs, and it's just trying to let's free this month. Yeah. 4 or 5 weeks of just let's smash all these riffs out.
Just really give it a definite focus.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a lot that's actually, coming into a nice form now. There's some good arrangements going on. I mean, especially with, again, going back to Mark, there's a lot of good stuff coming out. And some heavy riffs.
Well, it's always constantly evolving, and that's been the most exciting thing for the 3 of us, the old members. When Martin came on board, was that when these new ideas came to the fore, it really felt like that the Subtract sound, or the evolution of Subtract as a band, was definitely taking another step forward.
Continue,
as it's always going to when you get a new songwriting influence coming in. But
that's the thing. I'm not Evan. Yeah, and Evan isn't somebody else. You all bring your different styles,
and we're all evolving. Mark especially, who kind of, I would say, is the signature of Subtract sound, is the kind of driving drum rhythm, and he's constantly evolving as a drummer. Like I said, he's pretty well respected as far as amongst drummers, and he'd be quite within his rights to be resting on his laurels and going, this is what I do and it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But he's one of those guys that's he's a constant student. He's constantly being influenced and inspired by different guys, young guys that are coming through, and taking little bits from them and
adding it to his own,
incorporating them into his pre-existing style. And he's just I've known him for 25 years now, and he's just been constantly evolving as a player. It's quite inspiring to
especially
witness
as
it,
a musician yourself, seeing someone doing that, it helps you to keep doing that as well.
And I'm lucky. I'm the bass player. I just get to ride on his coattails.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
Yeah.
Just check him out. He's awesome. Yeah.
It's not starting with bass player jokes though.
Yeah. That's why I do all the talking, because I'm the bass player.
So you mentioned before that you're going on tour with Heavy Metal Ninjas. Tell us about the tour. Like, what's going on?
It's their tour.
Yep.
I think he's. I say he. They. Richie and his boys are. I think they might have a new album coming out. Amnesia.
I think I read something about that a little while ago.
Yeah,
actually,
that's the vibe I got from it as well.
Yeah.
It hasn't been announced, but it's sort of the feeling.
Yeah. They've been kicking ass in the last couple of years. They've been doing a lot of tech, like going overseas for tech fests, and Richie's really hooked up on the whole, gear endorsement side of things. So he's doing showcases and seminars and stuff all the time. And it's a style that is kind of overlooked a lot of the time. The kind of, the real player kind of guitar playing, instrumental, that's kind of a subgenre that's really kind of become quite popular in many different forms over the last few years. And
those guys have got the presentation nailed as well.
It's insane.
That's the thing. They got that whole kind of image thing down straight away.
It's such a show.
First time I saw them, he busted out the little laser lights off his fingers while he's playing. I was like,
my mate
man,
saw
that's
that.
cool.
The first time I heard of them was my mate saw them open for Shehead.
Yeah, that was when
and
I
he was
saw
like,
them.
I don't know, this guy, he just had these like lasers off his fingers and stuff. It was just insane.
The funny thing is, we met Richie and all the Cora boys back on the first Subtract tour in '98. We went to one of the places we went was Whakatane, where they're all from. And they were all the Cora boys and Richie, who was tied up with them as well, were just total metalheads, and wicked players even back then. But they were kind of 50-50 between the kind of reggae and jam styles, sitting around on the porch in Whakatane and just blasting it out at the same time.
That's the feel you get from the music as well.
Yeah. I mean, they're well-rounded players, all of them. But yeah, we met them when they would have been like 16, 18. It was our first tour. Yeah. And it's funny, all these years later, here we are. Yeah. But Richie was actually our sound man for a few gigs as well. Nice. Before he started Ninjas. He's in a band called Mutangent, and I think that was basically the core of that became Ninjas in the first sort of incarnation. But he's a wicked sound man too. He makes us sound pretty heavy. He knows how to get his bottom end out.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
that could be taken a couple of ways.
That could be taken in many different ways. Sorry, Rich. But yeah, we've played a few gigs, a couple of gigs with them, just one-offs over the last couple of years. And
so was it one last March, was it?
Yeah, it was your
the
first
King's
gig?
Arms, and my first gig.
Yeah, Martin's first show was
funny.
Was with the Ninjas at King's Arms, and that was a really good show.
Yeah,
I think
that was a hot night.
We complement each other musically.
Yeah.
Although we're coming from completely different places, I think we can kind of appeal to a lot of the same kind of, music fans, metal fans, people that like, real technical stuff, real kind of, real just slick playing, and then the same people might be kind of old school as well, and they might like it, a bit of the sort of old school thrash approach that we have.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think.
But also both, like you guys and Ninjas, have got the groove to it as well. Like it's got a real flow to the music. Yeah.
That's the through point for both the bands, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because as brutal as Subtract gets, there's always that groove there. You can smash your head in on stage, head banging away, but you can still groove to it as well, which is part of the attraction for me initially. It was just like that. It's heavy as fuck, and that's what I want. And that's awesome. But there's still this through line groove, and that's coming. A lot of that's coming from Mark himself, just from the way he's
brought the
smashing.
And I think because we're a bit older, we have been influenced by many different things, not just a particular style of metal or whatever. There's a lot of younger guys I've met or played with their bands, and they the first metal band they ever heard was Korn, and I'm like, dude, that's not the place to be starting. There was 20 years of just brutal music that came before that. But
ignore the
it's
hair,
not their
ignore
fault.
the leather. Just go back and listen to the music. Don't look at the pictures.
Yeah.
But we can, like I say, Mark's heavily influenced by Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple as much as he is Slayer and Metallica and Sepultura and stuff like that. But we all went through the whole alternative thing as well, where you get bands like Helmet and Alice in Chains and Faith No More and all this kind of stuff that just bled into our influences, and just sort of formulated the music that ended up coming out, because we were, it wasn't just about going as hard and fast as you can, because it's been done,
Yeah.
You can only hear so many blast beats and so many double kick things before you're like, well, where else are you going to go from there, Give us something else. It's fun, I love the real heavy bits and I love the fast bits, but there needs to be dynamics, So it's as much for us about what's
Let
not
the
being
brutality
played.
breathe a bit,
Yeah, as much, we've always had a less is more approach.
Yeah.
That was kind of the mantra right from the start. Was let's play less but have more impact. Let's have more dynamics.
How can get that same feel but pull it back?
What's not being played at that point rather than what is being played. Suck the air out of it just to slam
just
it
because
back
there's a
in
space
again,
there doesn't mean you have to fill it with 32 notes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever have songs and sort of like sometimes just take them right back, deconstruct them completely, and then try and reform them?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it's quite often we don't get to the reform part, because you put them out there as an idea, that you put them on the table, you play them as a band, and then what we generally tend to do is strip them back, and there's too much going on here or whatever, and then you find that perfect balance of groove and heaviness and space, and because when you're playing super fast, for me it gets less heavy the faster you go. It gets more extreme and more
you can't let it ring as
energetic, but it's not heaviness comes from a big everyone hitting an open note and
letting it resonate
and it rings for half a bar or whatever, and just incorporating that and incorporating space into the sound to let the heaviness kind of
come out,
get out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I like fast stuff as much as the next metalhead, but I'm as much about dynamics and pushing and pulling the whole time.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah,
especially in a live sense as well. You've got to give moments for the crowd to really go for it,
mm-hmm.
and moments for them to feel it as well. Yeah, is it like a lot of the time? Do you write songs with that live performance in mind? Sometimes, like this part would go really well live, or
I think that would be more when you're you've got that in the room and people playing it, and then you think you start to get a feel for how that arrangement's going.
Yeah,
that's got to kick in there. That's got to drop off there, because
mm-hmm.
we need to come back in and smash the faces in. You know, and because that will sound, because you're all you're doing is thinking as a person who wants to listen to the music.
Yeah,
you want to be able to go back. I want to be excited by that music as well as playing it. I want to know that I'm. It's making the hairs on my arms stand up or on the back of my neck. So there's that in mind, but it's not a priority at the writing stage. Because you get the feel for it.
Comes into it later.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Always ends up being like that.
And there are, from that stage on, they generally do. We are sort of imagining them being played on stage once they're a thing, and there's the odd song that we write that we know straight away is not necessarily going to be a live one. It's a great song. It's, you listen to it on the album. It takes you places or whatever, but not necessarily is it going to work in a live environment. It might be a bit too kind of because quite tribal in places, and sometimes. The weird timings and the tribal things can kind of lose the momentum a bit.
Yeah.
And with a lot of, most of the time we're playing 45 minutes, maybe an hour tops. And so you've really got to take it up and keep the momentum going when you're playing live. So you're kind of picking your best sort of 10 or 12 songs that are going to kick people's asses for an hour,
Yeah.
There's a couple of songs that while personally I really like them as songs and I listen to them on my stereo.
Yeah.
Not necessarily going to the momentum of the show just might drop a little bit, and
Yeah.
You kind of think about that kind of stuff when you're doing short sets, especially. You've got this long to beat people's faces in with your music, so let's do it as effectively as we can, you know.
But again, not being tied down to parameters, setting yourself, we've got to try and make this to have this effect, you know. Otherwise, you'll be putting blinkers up, you know. And especially now, there's a real free flowing kind of train of thought to the writing process at the moment.
Yeah.
Just allowing stuff to go out, you know. Things get put out into the wild, you play it through. Does it work? Does it not work?
Yeah.
Is it subtract? Can it be subtract? You
Yeah.
know? And I think it's nice at the moment because it's like you say, it's like a free flowing thing.
Quite organic.
Yeah, definitely. Not kind of just, it's not doing that at that point in the song, therefore it's
we don't set ourselves too many boundaries as far as, you know,
structure.
Does it fit into the subtract thing? It doesn't come
not
into
really
it.
a
It's
thing.
just what comes out, and it's good or it's not.
So by the time it's been through the ringer, it will sound like subtract, whether you like it or not.
And we've managed to incorporate a lot of different things into that subtract sound over the years, you know.
Yeah.
On the last album, we had a couple of real kind of almost glam rock moments, you know, playing in the key of A and kind of old school glam rock feel before slamming back into a thrash beat or whatever, you know.
Sweet. How long are you guys playing for with the Amnesia tour? Like, what's your set?
I think it's a 45.
Yeah, I think it's 3/4 an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be, 10 or 12 songs.
Wicked.
Yeah.
If we can, we have to be pretty efficient. There's not a lot of talking goes on. Just cram 12 songs into the set. It's just
double speed.
Yeah.
That'd be mental.
None of us. Joel's not much of a talker anyway at the best of times on stage, so there's not a lot of talking. It's mostly music when you're coming to see Subtract, you know.
Maybe a little bit when you have to tune a little bit. But
Yeah. Somebody talk some shit for a while. Those
It's usually you.
Yeah. Joel's not going to say anything.
Yeah.
It's not his style.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear my voice.
All right. How you all doing then? All right.
Yeah.
So what's 2016 looking like for you guys?
Pretty exciting.
Yeah.
A lot of new stuff.
There is
bunch
a
of new
lot of new,
songs.
there's a lot to get through.
Yeah.
But we're going to be smashing it out hopefully next couple of months.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's it's again there's different directions to be taken.
Yeah.
Could be taken, but it's still going to be very Subtract.
Yeah.
But it may not be that last album or the album before. Again, it's like Bryce was saying, there's definitely a progression there.
Yeah.
And not to, it's not about putting down the last album that you're on and this one is the bigger and better one, but you can see it in
it's just the
and you
progression.
can hear it in the way it's working.
Yeah.
Because like we were saying earlier, I'm not the last guitarist.
Yeah.
The last guitarist wasn't the guitarist before that. We're completely different people, different feels. So yeah, it's just
looking forward to having some new stuff to play.
Yeah.
We've been playing stuff off Talk Minus Action for 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
Because when Evan first joined the band, we wrote a lot of the new stuff and incorporated it into the set. So we were playing those songs 2 or 3 years before we put the album out, or 2 years anyway. And it's been now 3 years since the album's come out.
Yeah.
It's like just a whole bunch of new songs
Need
to play.
new songs
with a
now.
novel idea.
Yeah.
But like I say, we had that whole interim period where we didn't get a chance to play as often as we wanted to, so we still kind of feel like we're in a bit of a here's our latest album. We can't say new album anymore, but hey, check out the latest album.
Yeah.
But the whole idea of the next 12 months having, we want it to happen a bit quicker as well. We always say that, but actually try and make it happen this time.
Yeah, that's it. It certainly won't be 3 years.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is, it's, again, like we were saying earlier, with the technology now and the way we're working, it's easier to allow people to come up with ideas comfortably in their own time without pressure of, say, it's me and Bryce working through a riff for 2 hours while 2 other people stand around and go, okay, well, I'll wait for them to do that, or the other way round. Everything can be kind of hashed out
You can get through a lot of the tedious stuff.
Yeah. And then as soon as
before
you
you
come
get
to
it
the
to the
room,
table.
it's already you know your parts, so you're in, and then there's the tweaking and the moulding that comes in.
Yeah. So this year's going to be lots of writing.
Yep.
Any more tours after? Or
Yeah,
shows
I mean,
after
we never did get back to Australia on Talk Minus Action as we wanted to, because we've been twice in quick succession. So we kind of felt like when the album came out, that the first priority was to be getting back to Australia and maximising that, you know.
Yeah.
Because really, that's kind of it's where I guess the bulk of our potential fan base is. We've got a lot of fans in New Zealand, and touring around New Zealand is, like I say, it becomes not counterproductive, but flogging a dead horse a bit after a while. I mean, we still love playing around New Zealand, but you just have to be a bit more selective about where you put your energies, you know. And for us, Australia was a new territory, a bigger territory. You know, we'd established ourselves there, having been twice in 2 years. So that's got to be a priority for us. Get the new stuff recorded, get back to Australia, perhaps further afield if we can. Get around New Zealand again and play some new stuff, but get this album out as quick as we can. You know?
Yeah. It's just about refining.
Pretty
at this
exciting,
stage, I reckon.
Yeah.
But it does sound to my ears anyway. It does sound nice and heavy. So it's certainly a good reflection of where track's heading in the next year. So.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am. I just want to play it out now.
Yeah.
Because there's
like these are your songs. Like
there's lots of stuff. Yeah, and at the end of the day, you know, I'm a new guy. I'm playing somebody else's riffs at the end of the day, and some of them I'm butchering.
Oh, come on, mate.
Sorry, Evan.
Don't be so hard on yourself. Reimagining.
Yeah.
There we go. There's a nice spin on it. Yeah. But it is good. It's exciting. The potential for this year, anyway.
Sweet. Thanks for coming on.
Wicked. Thanks for having us.
Good to meet you, buddy.
Nice to meet you. And thanks for watching. See you later. Awesome.
Nice one.
Thank you, guys.
I didn't think we'd have that much to talk about, because it's been.
I don't think you don't much.